Hi friends, welcome back. We have finished 2 parts of a trial. We are jumping into investigations again for our second day of this case. And we're trying to figure out what's going on because there was another murder at the police department, but it's the same victim? Strange stuff. Maybe we'll be able to talk to Officer Meekins today, which I'm hoping for because I love Officer Meekins. He's a joy. Let's just get started because I have no idea how long this is going to be because last time it was like 30 minutes, but then the times before that it was over an hour, so who knows anymore. I just know there's going to be a lot of scientific investigation. Mr. Wright, so what's going on with the case, anyway? I'm a little confused. You and me both. Huh? Well, let's see. What is going on? The victim, Detective Bruce Goodman, was stabbed to death after 5 p.m. on the 21st. He died in the prosecutor's parking lot and the police department's evidence room. What's this "and the evidence room" part? The prosecutor's office and the police department are 30 minutes apart by car. Well, that's what we're going to find out. Or try to, at least. Alright, let's do it. Glad she's in good spirits, but I'm not sure she's going to be much help with this. Don't be so sure, Mr. Wright. Huh? Would you mind coming with me? I'll prove that these thick-rimmed glasses of mine aren't just for show. Let's go! Science awaits us! Where is she taking me? You know, I really don't think we should worry about the police department murder. There wasn't even a body found there. Who cares? Of course it was our victim who was killed at the department. And my sister would never do such a thing. I know it. My sister, erasing evidence of the crime scene? Never. Even though she says they don't get along, Emma really likes her sister. That's not it at all. It's just... we're both professionals at what we do, and I trust her. Big words for a high school student. Well, whether there were bloodstains or not, the water in that oil drum washed it all away. Ignore the strength of my science at your own peril, Mr. Wright. What's that grin for? This situation calls for one thing, and that is luminal testing fluid. And this is the gimmick of this case. We're gonna have fun with this. Luminol? Blood is sticky stuff, you know. You can't just wash it away with a little water. Even if you can't see it, it's still there. But wouldn't the police have already done those tests? Never trust anyone's eyes but your own, Mr. Wright. Just give it a try. Me? Why do I have to do it? I'm a minor. I can't even drink yet. We're testing bloodstains with this stuff, not drinking it. I'd hope. Here, look, I'll lend you these glasses. Huh? You had an extra pair of those things? To test for a blood reaction, to spray the luminol on it. Like this, see? Touch the screen to spray it on. Okay, let's find some bloodstains. I like to go through the entire thing, just in case there's something that we don't expect. Oh, hey look, bloodstains. Oh, it wants me to touch it. Sorry. I can see her eyes shining behind those glasses. So, is this a bloodstain? It's so... Emma, you're shaking. It's just, this is my first time seeing real blood. Scientific investigation is in action. Okay, well, we definitely know that this is a bloodstain. But doesn't something strike you as odd? Scientifically speaking, of course. What's odd about this, scientifically? I guess that's the only one. The perpetrator and Detective Goodman fought here, right? Don't you think there'd be a little more blood? I definitely think so. I mean, look at all this blood on the sole of the victim's shoe. It is strange. If they fought here, there'd have to be more bloodstains than this. Hey, Mr. Wright? See, now I'm marking up the floor plans where we found the bloodstain. See? I'm pretty handy to have around, right? Yeah, that's very useful information to have. I saved up my allowance to buy this. Oops, I guess I shouldn't just spray it willy-nilly then. We can't be sure that the police will reveal all their evidence in court. Sometimes they fail to mention evidence that doesn't fit with their view of the case. And we'll drag that hidden evidence out into the light of day. Yeah! It feels like we're really investigating a crime now, doesn't it? This luminol stuff is going to come in handy. Ha! I wonder how that fluid of yours would react to a nice deli box. Miss Starr! You only trust your own eyes, hmm? Not bad, you two. This day-old deli box is on the house. Sorry, it's just that kind of lead-in doesn't really get my mouth watering. Spray to use. Oh, spray to use. Sorry, I wanted to look around and see if there's anything else. It's always good to look at... And that's why. This blood must be from when Lana... No, my sister isn't the murderer! But she did call you, didn't she? At the time of the crime? And her right hand is bandaged? Hey, just who saw you on? This has nothing to do with taking sides. So this means that Lana's hand had blood on it. This just keeps getting worse. Do we have it marked? Yeah, it is marked as blue now. Okay. Alright, we'll talk to Angel. You certainly put me in a tight spot today. My apologies, Miss Starr, but... No, it's okay. It was my fault. Oh, we know. I witnessed everything from that security room right there. But I was afraid that it wouldn't sound convincing enough, you see. I was wrong to think that. I'm sorry. Sorry? You lied on the witness stand. That's unforgivable. Little girl, don't forget what's important here. Even if the police I witnessed the events from was different, I still saw what I saw. I saw Chief Prosecutor Skye stab a man in cold blood, and that testimony still stands. Ah. I swear it on my honor as a detective. She stabbed Goodman. I know this photograph is something important to tell us, but what? So you were a detective, weren't you, Miss Starr? Yes, it was a long time ago. Well, 2 years ago. No matter how hardened the criminal, when they faced me, they coughed it up. Coughed it up. They confessed. They babbled like babies. You know, I may seem like a demon sometimes, but I can be an angel, too. I wouldn't doubt it. Every day I dragged the dirt out of the mouths of suspect after suspect, and before long they called me the cough-up queen. Oh, and here I thought someone had gotten food poisoning from your lunches. And you were let go? Fired? It's all because of that case, the SL9 incident. She doesn't mean... Now we're getting somewhere. Please tell me about the case. SL9 incident. On that knife. And on that note. Goodman was the head detective of that case, you know. Really? That knife was evidence from that case, the murder weapon. It was due for transferal on the very day that Goodman was killed. As I suspected, SL9 isn't over. Not yet. Do you think you could tell us more about the SL9 incident? It's with these cold cases coming back to bite everybody. Yikes. What? Tell us about the SL9 incident. Why? Why aren't you telling us about the SL9 incident? Do you have a glitch? Is there something wrong? What? I had one of those up until 2 years ago. Back when you were the cough-up queen, right? We found this ID card here in the parking lot. Well, there's no mistaking that. It's definitely Goodman's. But it's the same ID as the man who was killed at the police department. That's impossible. I wish I could be so sure. She won't talk to me. Maybe I have to look into the SL9 incident and come back with a file? It's even busier here today than it was yesterday. The detectives are running around so fast they're blurring. I suppose it makes sense. A detective did get killed in their own department. So, the evidence room, the scene of the crime. According to the pamphlet we got at the front desk. Here it is. She's like a kid in an amusement park. Ooh, a real crime scene. Let's go take a look. I mean, we've been to the other crime... Never mind. Something tells me that we know who's here. Who works here, anyway. What's with the decor in this place? It's very eccentric. According to the pamphlet, this is the guard station for the evidence room. So beyond that door is the evidence room. The scene of crime. Sure seems that way. Oh. What's wrong? It's those cacti. They're so prickly, so imposing. It's hard to think straight. If you can't handle the cacti, stay out of the desert. What I want to know is, if this is a guard station, where's the guard? I have a feeling I know who this guard is already. Me too. Looks like there's video feed from the evidence room here. There's a light blinking below the monitor. It says recording. I bet we could use this computer to check on who went in and out of here. So why don't we? The evidence room is beyond that door. Let's just walk in. It won't open. You thought it'd be open? I think we need someone's permission to go in there first. Wonder if we can get his attention. Looks like there's a video feed from the evidence room here. Okay. Look on the floor, lasso. Looks like it's set up to trap someone. A trap here? Wait, I know. Maybe someone was trying to catch a wild bull in here. But the lasso missed. You sure have an active imagination. Yipes, this sure is prickly. It must be the real deal. I would think just one big one would be sufficient. This cactus is a lot like my sister, actually. The sky? Encased in a cold, rigid shell with thorns pointing in every direction. Just like her. You know, I've been looking at this cactus a while now, and I don't see the resemblance. It's more of an attitude thing than a physical similarity. Actually, just for fun. Since we're here. Wow, we got a reaction! There's clearly blood around the thorns here. This room's pretty messy. Someone must have tripped over something. And planted their head right in these thorns. I think that might be more painful than being murdered. Oh boy. While we're at it, let's just have fun. Shall we? Anyone have blood on their hands? Alright. Let's see if it was just a glitch and I can talk to her about the SL9 incident. Nope. So that's where Miss Starr saw the incident from. Probably see quite a lot from up there. Probably means she wasn't lying when she saw Miss Skye stab him. Where's the security guard anyway? Well, this is just something I heard, but apparently he went out to buy coffee for Miss Starr. That woman is a force to be reckoned with. Let's see if it works. There's blood on that, dude. Yeah, we've already seen all this. It's the famous oil drum. No time like the present. I'll try to kick it over myself. Hey, yeah! That's okay, don't cry. Wow, this guy must be a powerful woman. Did I already show that? Oh yeah, I did. Nothing. If you think about it, I could have taken that picture from the guard room. But even I get flustered sometimes. It would have made my case a lot easier in the court, let me tell you. So you went straight to the scene of the crime and climbed the chain link fence in an effort to stop the murder? That's when I took this photo, yes. In other words, 5 minutes after the crime? Those 5 minutes are the whole problem. The hole in my testimony is a blur. 5 minutes weren't the problem, Miss Starr. Your lying was the problem. Listen, little girl. I've had my testimony disregarded before. And I wasn't going to have it disregarded again. Just like that time. Okay. Can I talk to you about the SL9 incident now? Yes, thank you. I think I remember why I don't like this case. There's a lot of hoops you gotta jump through. I don't remember any other cases, even the more difficult cases, being this complicated to get information and to get things going. Like, I've jumped ahead of the game before, where I'm thinking of something before the game is ready to reveal it, and so I present the wrong evidence in that regard. But this is ridiculous. That's when I learned the truth. We're nothing to them. Disposable. Disposable? 2 years ago. It was the biggest case I'd ever handled. The police and the prosecutors were desperate for decisive evidence. So they didn't solve it? On the contrary. It was solved quite cleanly. The criminal was caught and executed. Executed? Yes, the criminal got what was coming to him. It doesn't get any cleaner than that. The only problem was, they never did find decisive evidence. Not even a little. What? But the criminal was executed, right? Evidence of a sort. Made-up evidence. What? You mean they executed someone with fabricated evidence? The best part came several months after the trial. Every detective involved with the case was dealt with. Some were demoted to patrolmen. Others found themselves out of a job. And you were one of those. Myself and one other person you know well. Wait, could it be? Exactly. Officer Jake Marshall. He's on security detail in the police department, isn't he? As professional detectives, we investigated that case from every angle. Jake was particularly determined. And then it was over, and he was demoted. Wonder why he was particularly determined. However, he hasn't forgotten, and neither have I. You haven't forgotten SL9? There was another side to that case, a hidden side. That's what we're after now. And no one up in their fancy offices can stop us. Wait, those lunches you sell. There's only one reason I come to sell lunches in this accursed office. I come here to meet old friends, boyfriends that can help me investigate. Miss Starr's old boyfriends. How many does she have anyway? Just when the detectives on this case have disappeared, we find new evidence. There has to be a connection. So, Rookie. What? It seems like you're serious about investigating this case. Yes. Then you should take this. Salisbury steak lunch? I know a certain guy who might help you if you tempt him with this treat. I'm guessing that's from Marshall. Miss Starr? Officer Marshall, is he your... are you his... Are you going out? Why do you want to know? I was just wondering what happened to him. A long time ago, when he was helping my sister do cases, he was so nice. He got along so well with my sister, it made me jealous. And he was nice to me too, back then. This would be where Officer Marshall was a detective. But now he's so cold. Jake and I are merely cooperating on this investigation. We're putting the past to rest, as it were. Nothing more than that. I see. Thank you. Officer Jake Marshall, Shall we go back to that security office? I think we shall. To the police department! This place is charged with frantic energy, as always. Please! Huh? Wasn't that... One steak lunch, please. Oh, it's you. Detective Gumshoe. Now's no time for chit-chat, pal. I'm a busy man. What I really need is a steak lunch from Lunchland. Oh, you mean one of these? Actually, it's not for sale. Poor Gumshoe, I wish I could give it to him, but we need information. I think I just heard the sound of his heart breaking. Now's no time for despair. We've got our criminal. Now we just need evidence. The criminal? You mean... You heard about the stabbing in the police department evidence room, pal. So much for keeping it close to the chest. I thought Chief Gant said that they weren't disclosing that information. It's the biggest scandal to hit the station in ages. Everything's topsy-turvy. But Detective Gumshoe, who was it? Listen, pal, all I know is I need me a steak lunch pronto. Sitting around here talking isn't going to fill my belly. Wait, don't leave! If you want to know more, head down to the detention center, pal. Questioning should be over, so I figure he's down there having a good cry. Later! Having a good cry. Oh my gosh! I think I remember who it is. Oh, darn. He ran off in to the evidence room. Well, this investigation is off to a running start. Should I go to the detention center now, or should I go to the security guard office? Let's see. Yep, nope, I'm gonna go to the detention center. Oh, man. I think I know who it is. I do not remember this being a thing. But based on that description of having a good cry, I can only think of one. Still, I do feel better about things. A little. I mean, they caught the person who stabbed Detective Goodman, didn't they? Yeah, I guess they did. Best to not go too far down that road right now. Things would just get confusing. What was that? Sir, that's what I'm saying. Me, a perpetrator? I'd say I was the perpetrated against, sir. That's what I'd say. I have the benefit of knowing who it is that's talking. If I can remember the voice I used. Greetings, sir. Wait, I know who you are. Excuse me, blah, blah, blah. Flashback. Officer Meekins! So you're a guard here at the detention center? No, sir! I'm not, sir. I'm a little lost patrolman. Like a little lost lamb, sir. Oh, I get it. You're here to deliver a report. No, sir, how should I say this? Wait, he isn't, is he? You, Officer Meekins, you didn't, did you? Perpetrator Officer Meekins reporting, sir! What? Now this is an unexpected turn of events. I love him. Sir, I'm a patrolman with General Affairs, sir. Sir! Ow, I can hear you fine, Officer Meekins. I had some business that day, sir, and so I went to the evidence room, sir. The guard office in front of the room was empty, sir. So normally there's a guard at the evidence room? That's right, sir, because evidence is kept in the evidence room, sir. Now, the security officer was none other than our Officer Marshall. Marshall? Then, sir, I happened to glance at the security room monitor. That's when I saw him, sir. A suspicious person in the evidence room. A suspicious person, sir! A suspicious person! Yeah! What the heck is this guy doing? So, what happened then? After that, sir, everything went white. I saw red. I blacked out. And when I came to, I was here in the detention center. How long were you out? Days? Might I ask, what happened to your hand? Sir, there was no one to bandage me, sir. So I did what I could to wrap it up, sir. A bandage on his hand. Just like Miss Sky. Yet another similarity between this case and the one at the prosecutor's office. First things first. Tell us how you hurt your hand. That happened when Detective Goodman was stabbed? Well, you see, sir! Don't you think you should just confess? But sir! But there was nothing I could do! Nothing you could do? Sir, to tell the truth, sir, when it happened, when the detective pointed that knife at me, I just hollered, sir. And the next thing I knew, I was unconscious. The next thing you knew, you were... Huh? Then when I opened my eyes, I was alone in the evidence room, sir, all alone. Alone because Detective Goodman had disappeared. What? Then when I looked down, I was gushing blood from my hand, sir. Oh, the shock. Oh, the sorrow, sir. Can you imagine how I felt? The victim's body disappeared. That's some story. I don't mean to pry, but you are the perpetrator, correct? You killed Detective Bruce Goodman in the evidence room, right? Sir, please don't look at me with those sad puppy dog eyes, sir. If you have to label me a persecutor or a victim, sir, then label me a victim. I would, but you happen to be in detention, and alive and well at that. Yes, well, that's true, sir. I suppose you can't say that. Did you know the victim, Detective Goodman? Well, sir, if I had to label him to a stranger or total stranger, then I'd say he leans heavily on the total stranger side. So you didn't know him? Sir, I work in a tiny department devoid of light and other creature comforts. I don't know any detectives. So, if he was a total stranger, why did you stab him? Sir, I had no intention of killing him, sir, none. Nor do I have any recollection of killing him, sir. At least someone around here is more confused than I am. I'm so confused. Okay. Do you think you could take a look at this? Hey! That's it, sir, that's it! That's it! That's what? My head was blank until this very moment. But sir, now I remember, sir. You mean you remember what happened? Correct! That card was the cause of it all. This ID card? Exactly, sir, that's exactly it! Nothing could be more exact, sir, nothing! I better pry into this one a little deeper. Can you tell me what it is you do remember? Well, sir, you might say I'm a lost little patrolman. A lost little lamb, if you will. I didn't know Mr. Detective Goodman, who was in the evidence room. And that's why you thought he looked suspicious. Sir, I entered the evidence room and asked the man to display his ID card. Well, that sounds pretty much by the book so far. That's right, sir! That's what I've been trying to tell you! So you asked Detective Goodman to show his ID card. What did he do? That's the thing! Suddenly he pointed the knife at me! What? Sir, I assure you I was as flustered as you are right now. So I whooped and leapt at him. Detective Goodman pointed a knife at him? Do unto others before they do unto you! My own father's words, sir. What happened then? Well, my eyes, sir. Everything went white. When I awoke, I was here. Right. So, Officer Meekins, why was it that they arrested you? What do you mean, Emma? Let's look at what we know. Now, Officer Meekins didn't know Detective Goodman, and the victim, whom he met at the scene of the crime, didn't show his ID card. In other words, we have no way of knowing if the victim was really the victim. And if this body just disappeared from the evidence room, we don't even know if anyone actually died. That's it, sir! That's what I wanted to say! That's it! I did say something along those lines! Huh? But you still ended up here. They told me they had to be him, sir. On that day, at that time. Detective Goodman was definitely in the evidence room. That's what they said. But you don't remember the events clearly? No, but the videotape is quite clear. Huh? Videotape? From the security camera. The crime, my crime, the crime I stored to stamp out. It's there, it's me on the tape. And you wait until now to tell us this? I'm sorry, really sorry, sir. I'll hand over my badge. I don't deserve it. No thanks, I have my own. Well, I guess we better go check out the crime scene. To the scene of the crime! The other scene of the crime. This scene of the crime. Wait. Hey, Mr. Wright? Look who's standing at the head detective's desk. It's Chief Gant. Are you sure this is all, You know what it means if there's anything missing. Sir, I'm sure it's most likely totally perfect. We checked the drawers, the lockers, the garbage cans, the coat pockets, the pillowcases, behind the computer monitors, the coffee machine. I see. Well, if anything does turn up, you'll call me right away, deal? Yes, sir. We'll scour the place again, sir. Head detective looks a little flustered. Ha-ha, righto, my boy. How you been? Swim much? What's with this guy in swimming? Oh, Chief Gant, reporting for duty, sir. Why are you saluting him, Mr. Wright? Did I go to the wrong place? It's fine. I'll talk to him. It's alright. If I need to come back here, I will. Besides, I do feel bad for Edgeworth. Is Edgeworth going to be okay? Oh, Worthy! Oh, you know. They're doing a little inquiry committee with him. Sounds like an inquisition. Yep, well, we all had no end of trouble with the boy since last year. You mean the incident on Gourd Lake? It does look good. It doesn't look good having one of our top people sitting in the defendant's seat. Now, you got someone else found guilty in that case, right, Righto? Von Karma. A legend he was, undefeated for 40-year career. But in court you fixed it so he was caught for forging evidence. Wait, I didn't do anything wrong. He did forge evidence. In any case, the prosecutor's office is in a bit of a turmoil, you might say. Why, they do just about anything to restore their reputation. Now, depending on what that inquiry committee decides, it could be bad for Worthy. What? It's downright odd, I tell you. I mean, it happened at exactly the same time. The murder at the prosecutor's office. Scientifically speaking, it's impossible. Yes, but that's what the evidence is saying. Goodman was stabbed in 2 locations at the same time. That's what it says. What evidence is this? Now, Righto, I can't give away all our secrets just like that. And this in particular. Well, it's a little sensitive, and I can't talk about it. I wasn't expecting much anyway. You know, one thing I hate most of all is hiding stuff. Secrets, can't stand them. But you know, it's a full-time job, just keeping the head detective's trap shut. Ah, he was the one you were picking on earlier. Huh? You saw that. Whoops. I wonder what it was that he wanted the head detective to do. Let's see if we can kind of discreetly ask him. Anything about the SL9 incident? Oh wow, I actually remember that line. I must have shown him a lot of evidence when I played through this the first time. Wait, speaking of the Dancing Blue Badger, didn't he design it? Never mind then. Alright. To the police department. Seriously? But I was told to come here. Okay, fine. Apparently I am supposed to talk to Gant. Discreetly ask him about stuff. What about the prosecution, Joe? No? He's no help at all. What exactly did the chief of police want you to do? Well, see over there. That's Goodman's desk. He wanted me to check it out for anything that might be a clue. They took away every last piece of garbage in the trash can. So nothing belonging to Detective Goodman is still here. Of course not! Well, except for this. What? You kept something? Sure, why not? It's not important. He didn't even finish writing it. It's a lost item report, but it's only half complete. Did Detective Gumshoe Goodman lose something? The date on it is February 21st. I'll make a note of that just in case. Okay, that's important. Now I can get a look around the crime scene. Oh my goodness. I have a feeling what he was filling that out for. To the police department. Again. Can I please go through this door? Maybe he meant the other crime scene. Okay, maybe I have to show it to Chief Gant. That's fine. I'm just gonna chase my tail a little bit. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Hello, officer. What am I doing wrong here? I remember that line too! Oh my goodness, I have a feeling that this might be where I got stuck. Okay, let's think things through here. Oh, he passed the buck to Edgeworth. Maybe Edgeworth knows something. It's the only other place I haven't been. Well, this place is certainly tidy today. And it'll be tidy tomorrow, too. Incidentally, he's not here. I'm sure he's off doing important investigations. I hope that's what he's doing. I guess we'll have to come back. She didn't know anything about it. Chief Gant wouldn't tell me anything about it. Did it open up another conversation? Yes, there we go. Actually, I was wondering if I could ask you a favor. Well, I never thought the day would come when Wright asked me for help. I was wondering if we could investigate the evidence room. Yes, that's what I need. I need somehow to get through the door. Dude, you're so creepy. Now, Righto. Actually, I'm sorry. I don't need to investigate after all. Righto, please. Do I look like a selfish man? Huh? Heck, if anyone asked me, sir, can I borrow $50? I'd give them $50, no problem. So go ahead, investigate that room to your heart's content. Knock yourself out. Just goes to show you never know until you ask. And for you here, you can borrow this. Huh? Hey, this is a detective ID card, isn't it? That's a special card for guests, so don't lose it. Yes, sir. It's an honor. You should turn around now and do your best. Later, folks. Ugh, my gosh. You never know when things open up like that. I honestly think it's just this case that does this to me. It looks pretty cool on my lapel, doesn't it? Just think, a real ID. You seem happy. Yes, sir! Because, sir, we get to go to the evidence room now, sir! I think this place is a bad influence on the girl. Or, more specifically, Meekin says. To the police department! To the evidence room. If I can do it the right way. And we have the ID card from Chief Gant. Let's just walk in. It won't open. Haha, the card reader's turned off, see? What's that security guard thinking? Howdy, partners. Well, well, what's made my Bambina skies so gray? There you go. I was wondering when he'd show up, too. We know it's his office. Somehow I knew. What's with that somehow I knew look for? As you may have surmised, this here's my saloon. We're here to investigate the crime scene. Yeehaw! That card you got there on your chest. That's better than the sheriff's badge in these parts. Yeehaw! Well, what you standing there for? Get along, little doggies. Crime scene's awaiting. Looks like the card reader's on again. While we're here, I was wondering if we could ask you some questions. Sorry, cowboy, but I got no mind to tangle with you hombres. Hombres. You're busy then? Did I say that? I only said I didn't wish to speak with you. Wow. You said you had no mind to tangle with us hombres. Does that mean he's not going to talk to us? I was wondering if we could talk to you. Sorry, Bambina, but I'm off to roam the lands like a tumbleweed on the wide prairie. Like a gunslinger loading a six-shooter, I say a little prayer. What was that all about, Mr. Wright? I think he was just too hungry to talk. Oh, right. You know, all the running around made me completely forget. That's why I came here in the first place, the first time I came here. Not the second or third time that I came here, but the first time. That smell. Reminds me of Texas. So, Officer Marshall, you're from Texas? No, I just saw a special on television the other day. Is this from my baby? Yeah, Miss Starr. What's this? What? What's wrong? A filet steak lunch. I see. I don't see. I wonder what it means. Alright, Bambina, you win. Ask him for anything. Finally, it seems like he's willing to talk. Alright, talk to me, buddy. Officer Marshall, you're in charge of the security for the evidence room, right? You got good eyes, partner. It's an easy job, and I'm grateful for it. Actually, Officer Meekins at the detention center told us. That poor little doggy. Poor guy, I keep getting his name wrong, calling him Meekly. He told us something. He said that when the stabbing occurred, you weren't at your station. Well, maybe I shouldn't be telling you this. But since I got demoted from detective 2 years ago, well, might not look it. But I lost my fire for the job, you know? So, what were you doing around 5:15 when the murder took place? Well, I reckon I was galloping down the highway on the back of my steed, Zippy. Note, he was riding down the highway on his horse named Zippy. There's no need for people here, anyhow. These newfangled machines do a bang-up job of keeping an eye on the place. You mean the security camera system? I don't take to machines much. Kinda like that stewed broccoli they sneak in next to your steak, you know? Miss Starr told us something. She said that you were a detective until 2 years ago. It was always my dream to be a rawhide wrangler on the scene of the crime. It's all gone now. Like drinking hole in prairie fire. You're still investigating the SL9 incident with Miss Starr, aren't you? That was my case. It's all solved on the record books, but it smells like a bad game of poker. I can't let it go. That's all there is to it. What kind of case was it, anyway? We've heard the name so many times, but no one tells us what exactly happened. There are some things you're better off not knowing, Bambina. Anyway, that case is officially dead as of 2 days ago. 2 days ago, the day of our case. That's right. Evidence transferals. Edgeworth was talking about the transferals, too. I know what maybe 2 of these machines do. Only 2 of them? There must be a dozen. Like I said, Bambina, me and machines, well, I like them about as much as I like stewed cauliflower with my steaks. The easiest ones to understand here are those security cameras. Those are the ones that Officer Meekins mentioned. If nothing happens, the tapes are automatically erased every few hours. And Officer Meekins and Detective Goodman, are they on one of those tapes? I reckon they might be. You're the security guard, and you reckon? One more thing. When you go into that evidence room, you need an ID card. That's the card reader by the door. Oh, sorry, that was me. The card reader leaves a record of every ID card passed through. So this is the ID card record. Looks like 4989596 went in twice. And is that supposed to be Meekins? Hey, I've seen that somewhere before. Sorry, Bambina. Can't show you more than that. Huh? Haven't heard whether this is related to the case yet. Mr. Wright, I saw a number on that record just now. I've seen that number before. Maybe there's some way I can prove the record is tied to the stabbing. Sorry, but could you explain this whole transferal thing is about? We keep only evidence from solved cases in this room. They're kept here under the presiding detective's supervision for 2 years. So we can reinvestigate them if it turns out there was a mistake, see? So what happens to the evidence after 2 years? It goes to sleep forever in the underground vault in the police station. That's what we call a transferal. We do it every February. I see now. Transferals like a funeral for old cases. 2 years after a case is solved, it's closed forever. Dead. Never to be reopened again. Never to be reinvestigated. And that happened to SL9 2 days ago. Alright, how to connect the record with the case? Well, it would be Goodman's, right? See this? This is the victim's ID card. Ah, the one that was on the ground in the parking lot. The number on this is 5842189. Officer Marshall shows the ID number on the ID card record. 5842189. The fourth number, it's a perfect match. It was used at 5:14, right before the stabbing. What's more, there's only one of them cards in the world. So, when the incident occurred, Detective Goodman was in the evidence room. But wait, what did Officer Meekins say? Sir, I entered the evidence room and asked the man to display his ID card. So, why didn't he show his ID card is the question. If he had his ID card then, why would he have pointed a knife at Officer Meekins? Alright, compadre. You win. I guess I can give you this ID card record. Alright, we've labeled one. I've got an idea. Maybe I should show this list to other people with IDs here. Can I actually do that before I go into the evidence room? Maybe I can show something to... Meekins. Unless it's not going to let me. Yeah. See what his number is. Or not. Back to the evidence room. Scene of the crime. So much for that. You know, if you think about it, for me to do this, it's taking me 30 minutes drive to get to each of these places. That's the one thing that's like a little not realistic. It's like, oh, you can go to all of these places, but also you're just driving from place to place. It's quiet. The investigation must be over here. So this is the evidence room. It really is kind of like a graveyard. Graveyards are supposed to have grass and trees. This feels more like a morgue. Nice try, Mr. Wright. You can't scare me. Wasn't really trying to. Oh, detective. Eek! Whoa! Sorry, I thought you were a ghost. I wouldn't recommend going around smacking ghosts on the head, pal. So is it true what I heard? Why, do you want $50, Gumshoe? Or your salary cut's getting that bad? Oh. Yeah, it's true. So, Chief of Police Scant will loan anyone 50 bucks. Oh my gosh, I was right! Even me? Oh, so that's what you were talking about. Actually, I was put in charge of the investigation for today. Really? You're allowed? Just for today? Boss for the day? But guess what? You got permission from the chief, so now you're boss for the day. Gee, thanks. First of all, you'll want to have this. All the floor plans. That's great. Let's take a look at those. What do we got here? See the stabbing. Oh, it's like an L. Interesting. I wonder if that'll be important. So, Detective Gumshoe, you're boss for the day? That's right. It's an honor. After all, the murder took place right here, in the police department. But if you're the boss, why are you all alone? Where are your underlings? They're using our findings from yesterday's investigation to prepare for the trial. In other words, Detective Gumshoe got kicked out of the investigation again. I'm adamant, though. I'm going to take control and put this case to rest. And in my own evidence locker, pal. You have a locker in here too, Detective Gumshoe? Haha, of course. I'm a detective after all. They gave me a locker that only I can open, pal. Only you can open. I feel like that was an important statement. Let's keep going, don't mind. I'll always believe in Mr. Edgeworth, no matter what happens. So, Mr. Edgeworth is with the inquiry committee now, right? They're trying to figure out who's responsible for the mess-up in the court today. I see. I guess this is what you call fate. Mr. Edgeworth just can't get away from that case. That case? Yeah, that case. The SL9 incident, of course. Wait, he was involved? That was the beginning of the end for Mr. Edgeworth. Maybe we can get him to tell us more about the case. This place is more high-tech than you might think. Every locker is fixed so that only one detective can open it. Using this ID card. Well, that's the thing, pal. ID cards can be lost. Why, I'm on my third card since entering the force already. That sounds like a lot. Yes, but even I can't lose my own right hand. Right hand? Oh, you mean your fingerprint. Exactly, pal. The lock for each locker is coded with a fingerprint. And that's the only locker we can open. Funny, they look like normal lockers. These are the latest model. There's a trick to the handles, see? The handles? On the other side of the handles is a sensor. And if the wrong person touches it, the zap, you get a shock. If that's what happened, my hand would be black and smoking every day. In any case, the locks aren't that obvious. There's even some people in the force that don't know about the fingerprint locks. Interesting. There's something sticking out of here. Looks like a shirt. I guess it must be evidence for some case. I wonder if Detective Gumshoe put this here. There you go, pal. Making me out to be some kind of slob. I'm not responsible for the evidence here. That said, I bet that evidence locker was open recently. How do you know? If you leave things hanging out like that, the evidence gets dirty or ripped. The guard checks on that kind of stuff and notifies the detective responsible. How many times have I had him breathing down my neck about some silly evidence? Sounds like Detective Gumshoe leaves evidence hanging out a lot, too. I bet he doesn't tuck in his shirt under that trench coat, either. If you're going to talk behind someone's back, don't do it right in front of them, pal. Is that a door of a car? What is happening here? Look at this big pile of junk in the corner. It looks like a car door. There's a pair of handcuffs attached to the frame. Maybe the guy they caught was some sort of escape artist and he got away. Hey, that's one of those human profiles for range testing. He's been shot square in the forehead. Better him than us. Whoa, what's happening here? What's this? Blood? It's a little worn, but there's definitely a handprint here. Looks like someone tried to wipe it off. Mr. Wright! What if there are other bloodstains left in the room? We should use our testing fluid to check it out. We will in due time. I was going to do that. Don't worry. I just wanted to examine first. Look, this one's open, and there's an indicator tag still stuck on it. And that locker is coated with Detective Goodman's fingerprint. Detective Goodman's locker? Are you sure it's okay to leave it open like that? Well, it'd be hard to get it open again if we closed it. It's empty. They must have taken the contents elsewhere. Wow, someone must have broken something big to make all these pieces. Detective Gumshoe, perhaps? There you go, pal, making me out to be some kind of hooligan. That's apparently from the case. The case? The SL9 incident, pal. See the sticker on one of the pieces there? Another piece of SL9 evidence. I wonder what shape these pieces were in before whatever it was broke. You want to try to put it back together? Ha! Good luck, pal. There's no job for amateurs. Why, I spent a good 3 hours on that before I had to give up. That's why I always carry around a tube of glue. Well, this piece looks like the bottom. Let's try putting the rest in place. Oh, is this some kind of vase? What am I doing here? What am I doing here? Can I... Oh, I see. Okay. I'm like, what? So we're building a puzzle. And we have to use... get that kind of... So, would this be it then? Okay, there we go. Alright. That's not so bad. No one will still tell us what this case was about. It's definitely the tops. Oh, this is a top too. I'm gonna turn that. Oh, is this a handle? That's cool. This one. Here we go. Okay, I think we may be at the top now, so... Not that one. Not that one. That was it. Oh, sorry. Similar shape. Different size. Handle. It's upside down. Handle. There we go. Yeah, that sounds right. Huh. It's missing a piece. Huh? Well, I think we did it, but some of the pieces are missing. That only took me 2 minutes to do. The problem is finishing it. Were some pieces stolen? I bet they were missing to begin with. Still, it doesn't look like the most stable kind of jar. I kind of understand how it got broken. Oh, I just thought it was upside down. here? It's hard to make out, but there's a dark red stain here. Looks like blood. Do you think Detective Goodman's blood somehow got on it when he was stabbed? Not likely. This blood looks like it's been here for months, maybe longer. Star was evidence in the SL9 incident. That might be when the blood got on it. You can see right through it. This thing doesn't have a bottom. That's weird. I wonder which side is up. Better yet, what's the purpose of a bottomless jar? At least it doesn't collect dust inside, right? Strange decorative item. Alrighty then. One more thing I wanted to look at. Or two more things. Someone left a glove here, but only one. Detective Gumshoe, maybe? There you go, pal. Making me out to be some kind of absent-minded detective. That's evidence from the case, you know. You mean SL9? Does have a tag on it. SL911. I guess this is another piece of evidence from that case. You know, I never did care for the word tag. It's confusing. Huh? What's so confusing about that? Do you know how many other words sound like it? Bag, gag, nag, lag, zag? Zag? Is that a word? Do you challenge me? What, are we playing a word game now? And this was the other guy. What's a saw and paint doing here? Since the dawn of time, true art has always been a war against oppression. True art? I noticed that there's blue and yellow paint here. Perhaps we're witnessing the birthplace of the blue badger? Well, you might say this is my studio. Here in the evidence room? Whatever you say, buddy. Let's get the little no out. Just making sure to get everything before we, yeah, okay. That definitely looks like a place where murder took place. Yikes. There must have been a massive amount of blood here. I've never seen so much before. I'm not a professional. What's your opinion, Detective? Pale blue blood. Maybe Detective Goodman was actually an alien? This proves that something really happened in front of this locker. I'll make a note of it on the floor plans. Hey, if you didn't want my opinion, you shouldn't have asked. Well, we didn't want that opinion. I knew it! This is someone's right handprint. What? What's the matter, Detective? This locker. It's mine! It's yours? Please. You have to help me when they come to take me away. Promise you'll testify that I wouldn't harm a fly. You'll do that for me, won't you, pals? This is an important clue. I'll jot it down in the floor plans. I'm counting on you guys. Believe me, you can't trust the police. What? But you are the police. You're the detective. Why am I getting a reaction here? There's no reason for the murderer to touch this spot if he fled out the door. This just might be something significant. Hey, that's some pretty amazing stuff you got there, pal. What, this? It's called luminal testing fluid. Where'd you get your hands on that? Huh? I'd like to get some too. I just borrowed $50 from the chief. Where did you get this, Emma? I always buy it by mail order. Well, I better jot this down on the floor plans. I wonder if it gives me a picture of what it looked like. One more thing, since now we know that the good detective's locker is this one. Blood! Oh, I guess I never really actually... Oh, no, I did. Yeah, that was whenever I was told that, okay. And I've already examined that one. Making sure nothing added, okay. And I am going to present the codes to him. Could you take a look at this? This is the ID card record of the people who came in here on the day of the stabbing. Ah, I heard the rumors. So it was Goodman who came in here at the time of the murder. Whoa! What is it? That second number! It's not your ID number, is it, Detective Gumshoe? Mr. Edgeworth! What? The second number on this list belongs to Mr. Edgeworth. What? Okay, that's important. How would Edgeworth have come to the evidence room? What is going on with this case? Okay. I think I have to go talk to Edgeworth. Hopefully I'm going the right way. It gets very confusing. Please be there. Oh, come on. I'm gonna have to start splitting these up. Okay, alright, that's fine. That's fine. It's fine. Yeah, I'm getting, like, tired. I don't think he's gonna tell me anything else. Okay. Should we present this again? No, it's just gonna be the same thing. Blah, 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 Edgeworth's card. Can't open the lockers if your fingerprint doesn't match. If you can open it, they'll give you 50 cents. Note, the police department lacks faith in its lock system. After all, Detective Goodman was stabbed here after opening his locker. But at the same time, he was found dead over at the prosecutor's office. Allow me to say one thing, speaking as a detective. If I see a piece of evidence I know nothing about, I say nothing. Nothing. That's fine. Okay, maybe... he can tell me about the SL9 stuff? Okay, the reason that I keep going back to Gumshoe is that, as you can see, 3 things. He said 3 things. The max is 4. And then I know that I'm done. So, maybe there's something more to be said here. You're the one who gave this to me, Detective. Is there more... Oh, wait, what about this? Do you know about this? No? No? Okay. Oh wait, is he actually talking to me about SL9? That was Mr. Edgeworth's first big case, 2 years ago. That was the first time the world knew Edgeworth was a man to be feared. But why would evidence from the case turn up now? I guess it's not over, pal. Maybe there are some loose ends left on that case. Are you gonna talk to me about it? Are you gonna talk to me about it? Yes! Oh my gosh! I showed you all of the evidence from that case, Gumshoe. Why didn't you listen? Why did you need old stuff? I'm just gonna go. I'm so tired. Now that was a bloody violent case. Violent? So it was murder? Serial killing. Ooh, serial killing. Maybe I don't want to get involved in this after all. But the killer made a mistake, and Mr. Edgeworth built his case around that to nab him. And this was 2 years ago? And that put Mr. Edgeworth right in the spotlight. And started the rumor mill. Rumors about forged evidence. It was supposed to be cleared up with the transferal the other day. It was the last job he ever did. Detective Goodman, that is. Huh? What do you mean? Detective Goodman was the detective in charge of the SL9 incident, see? So that switchblade knife... The victim took the knife out of the evidence locker himself. Hey, pal, look at the time. Was there something you needed to be going to? It's just that Mr. Edgeworth's inquiry committee should be letting out soon. I'm going to give them my report for the day. It might help, Report? You mean the note written on the back of that flyer? The one that says nothing but no problems? Hey, it's Mr. Edgeworth we're talking about. I'm sure he can use a report like this. I believe in him. Who needs enemies when you've got friends like Detective Gumshoe? I'm off, pal. Later. Oh, man. I should probably see what Edgeworth has to say, too. And we're back again. What? Ah, guests, my apologies. Oh, it's you. Have we met somewhere? Mr. Edgeworth, I beg your leave, sir. So long. Is Edgeworth here? There, standing by the window, a teacup in his hand. Ah, it's you. He has the hotel bring him tea service? Mr. Edgeworth, you're back from this district prosecutor's office inquiry? Precisely. By the way, Detective Gumshoe was looking for you. Oh yes, he brought me some information, it seems. Really? Was it helpful? Apparently, a new French restaurant is opening near here. I think he was trying to console me somehow. I think the report is on the other side, Edgeworth. Poor Mr. Edgeworth. I think this whole thing is really taking a toll on him. What's up, Edgy? So, how did the inquiry committee go? Actually, they decided to treat this not as a case of concealing evidence, but as a communications error during the investigation. Concealing evidence? Yes, apparently there are some who believe that I concealed evidence. They gave me a warning. You were lucky this time. Again. Again? I've heard them say that so many times. Ever since that case 2 years ago. Are you okay for the trial tomorrow? Well, I'm still the presiding prosecuting attorney, however. Something happened? They gave control of the investigation over to the police department. The police department? Yes, any further investigation for this case will be directed by the Chief of Police Gant. I can do nothing but wait for his results. I see. Why, I ask you? Why? All along I've done only what I believe is right. I have nothing to be ashamed of. But still... Wow, I've never seen him this out of sorts. Couple things. First, SL9. But also this? Oh, right. I better check this now. As I was saying, What's this? A record of ID card usage? Edgeworth, you went into the evidence room that day, didn't you? Just before the incident occurred, no less? Yes, that's true. Why, Mr. Edgeworth? Please don't look at me like that. I was asked to go, by Chief Gant, no less. The Chief of Police? He wanted evidence for a case that wrapped up half a year ago. He told me he wanted to keep it here in the prosecutor's office. But it was solved, right? It would have to be if the evidence was already filed. The chief is never one to explain himself. In any case, on the day of the stabbings, I brought this back here. Can I ask what kind of case it was? I can't say. It really has nothing to do with the current case. Now I'm curious about this other case. Better make a note of it. Unrelated evidence. Stubborn as always, I told you this has nothing to do with the current case. Yeah, but... you gave it to me, so... Tag says AI-16. What's that got to do with anything? Nothing, apparently. At least that's what Edgeworth said. That makes it seem all the more suspicious. Who knows? This might turn out to be a clue that breaks the case. Wouldn't that be nice? Usually turns out like that for me. So, you know, you never know. Also, can you please tell us about SL9? I know you. You've probably got a hold of some information already, right? It all has to do with that case you were on, the SL9 incident. And some dark suspicion you were wrapped up in? You are the man who revived the worst memory of my life, as I recall. I figured I'd be telling you about this sooner or later. Yeah, sorry about that, Edgeworth. He's talking about the murder in the elevator. Okay, Edgeworth. Why don't you tell me about it? Tell me the truth. The SL9 incident was a heinous serial killing case. The head of the investigation was the Deputy Chief of Police at the time, Damon Gant. That wacky old coot was involved in the case 2 years ago, too, then. He was the best we had. It was my first time working with him. I was nervous. Wow, you get nervous too, Mr. Edgeworth? What I want to know is why a Deputy Chief of Police on the investigation. In truth, I used slightly more extreme methods than normal. We were dealing with vicious murder. If I let him go, the blood would be on my hands. We won our guilty verdict, and the killer was executed. Wait, you didn't? Of course not. I didn't touch the evidence. Yes, I will do anything in my power to win a trial. However, I do have a code, and I follow it faithfully. By the way, Emma, the chief prosecutor wanted to know something. My sister? What? Are you still working on that scientific investigation? Yes, of course. Why, just today Mr. Wright and I were using this. Luminol testing fluid. Well then, you might have use for this. Aluminum powder for taking fingerprints? It's been chemically treated for better adhesion. For me? Are you sure? We are the enemy, you know. I've no say in today's investigation. Do as you will. Edgeworth, I'm really... no need to thank me. Here, take your powder and these fingerprint files for everyone involved. Thanks! How about giving these to Detective Gumshoe as well? Well, let's get going. One last investigation. Right. I do seem to remember seeing a suspicious handprint somewhere. You know, a couple of them. Alright, even though he's at 3, I think we're at the point that we can go. So, to the police department, to the evidence room, last of the investigation. Everybody's gone. Great, we can do this on our own. Our investigation turned up a suspicious handprint. Here, in this blood in the detective's evidence locker. Let's use the secret weapon we just borrowed. Okay. There you go. That's what I was waiting for before. I'm like, oh my goodness. Choose a finger. This is just instruction, so I'm not going to read every little line because we've been at this for a while now. Can I choose this finger down here? Because there's definitely a finger down here. Nope, I guess not. Yeah, so this uses the microphone to blow the dust. We're gonna see how this goes, because I don't want to, like, make it bad in the microphone for my recording. So let's see here. Sometimes I think that just talking at it will work. I hate this microphone part. It's really hard. Really? Not enough? Do I need more? There we go. Feeling a little lightheaded. Looks nothing like a fingerprint. Now that you mention it, I guess it doesn't. I think it means we're out of luck. The person who left this handprint must have worn gloves. We've been wasting our time here, and our breath. That's just the way it goes sometimes with scientific investigations, but it does seem a shame. While we're at it, why don't we look for other prints? Looking at the locker door again closely. I want it, I want it. Now I can choose this one. Okay, clearly it's just need to worry about the middle of it. No need to make it go all over like the luminol. Yay, a print so clear it's dazzling! Dazzling. Anyway, this print took a lot of effort to find. Let's match it up right away. So we're not done yet? This is quite a process. Well, there's no point in finding a fingerprint and not knowing who the owner is, right? Guess she's right. Point out the person you think left these prints. How am I supposed to know who it was? I can make a pretty good guess. The bloody handprint and the fingerprints are in different places, right? That means the prints probably don't have anything to do with our case. So, whose fingerprints would we most likely find on the evidence locker? Probably Gumshoe's. Let's see if it matches. So this is cool. You can look at the fingerprint and compare it, and we can see it does look pretty similar. Whereas if we looked at somebody else's, for example Lana's, it's very different. But see this little, like, swoopy, oops, this little swoopy thing. So it's all scientific and stuff, and techno. Aha! So these prints belong to Detective Gumshoe. Something wrong, Mr. Wright? You gave me this so what look. I guess that's probably because I was thinking so what. Okay, so we came up with nothing this time, but there's always next time. Sometimes you hit, sometimes you miss. You gotta roll with the punches, Mr. Wright. Thanks for the sympathy. If I remember correctly, there was one other handprint in this room. Let's check it out. The handprint was here. This is where we got a luminol fluid reaction, right? Right! There was a handprint here! Okay, wanna try using this? There go her eyes sparkling again. Let's check for prints. That's the spirit. Oh, but I have to warn you about something first. What? The area with the blood was wiped away, right? We only ended up finding it using chemical means. Any prints in that area will have been wiped away too. Oh, right. So that means no prints. Would you say the probability of your hypothesis is high? Don't ask me. Anyway, we must try to find prints that weren't wiped away. Prints other than the ones left by the bloody hand. So, they'll probably be around here somewhere for the pointer finger, right? Or wait. I'm sorry. This is the thumb. That's the pointer finger. Let's see what we got. Hopefully we've got something. Oops. Hopefully we got something, I said. Ooh, I see something. Okay, so we know Meekins was around here. That's not him. Oh, hey. That looks really similar. These fingerprints, they... Whose are they? Whose? Is it someone I know? It's Officer Marshall. Huh? Officer Jake Marshall? That's gotta be a coincidence. He's not involved in this crime. Emma, these are decidedly different from Detective Gumshoe's prints. The luminol reaction, the blood and the fingerprints are in the same place. Oh. So we have Jake Marshall's fingerprints on a wiped bloodstain. But why would Officer Marshall? Looks like our investigation is finally turning up some results. I guess this is what you'd call decisive evidence. I don't believe it. Oh, okay. We're done. I'm not gonna say anything. This is another long one. And I'm tired. Well, we've got decisive evidence, like Phoenix said, so, you know, maybe we'll be able to stand a chance in court. Let's hope so. Talk to you guys then.